Welcome to the Rewire and Thrive podcast. I am your host, Laura Stiles, clinical hypnotherapist and parent coach at The Mindful Generation. You're in the right place if you're ready to transform your mind, break cycles, and reclaim your power for a life of purpose and freedom. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rewire and Thrive. Today we're talking about something I know that many mums struggle with, and that is people pleasing. Now, the last episode that I did was around boundaries, but that was boundaries for your children and more like discipline related. This week is also about boundaries, but more so boundaries that you have around other people in your life and setting boundaries for yourself to protect your own energy and to give yourself more space in your life. So it's more specifically how to break free from it before it leads to complete burnout. So, how many of us feel like we are constantly trying to juggle everything? I imagine it's most of you. So, we tell ourselves that we just need better balance. Most of the time, it's like, I need better work-life balance and better time management and better systems and give me all the productivity hacks and that kind of thing. But the truth is, chasing balance is just exhausting and it's pretty unrealistic. It's not actually balance that we need, it's boundaries. And how many times have you thought to yourself, I just wish that I could have time for exercise, time to be able to cook a wholesome home-cooked meal, time for my partner, more presence and quality time with the kids. And yes, all of that sounds glorious and lovely, but really, in real life, you're not going to have every single one of those things that that are on your wheel of life. You're not going to have all of them as like a perfect kind of sized pizza-shaped segment that's perfectly balanced out. It just doesn't happen like that, does it? Especially when you've got young children. The chances are you're going to be spending a lot of time in this phase of your life dealing with kids' stuff and perhaps not having much time for things like going out on the lash and spa days and that kind of thing. So really, we just need to think about what's more realistic, and that would be something that you can implement, which is setting strong boundaries and stripping away those people-pleasing behaviours. And a lot of that comes back to our conditioning. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed and stretched far too thin or frustrated that you're always the one picking up the slack, then this episode is for you. We're going to unpack why the good girl conditioning runs so deep and keeps us stuck in those people-pleasing tendencies, how to start saying no without guilt, and why boundaries, not balance, are the key to avoiding burnout, and also a powerful reframe that will help you to step out of the martyr role and reclaim your time. So let's get to it. I would like you to see if you can stop chasing balance and set boundaries instead, because I really do hear this all the time. I just need to find more balance. That's what people say. To be perfectly honest, balance, as I said before, is hard to achieve when life is pulling you in 100 different directions. And you can try all the planners and routines and productivity tips in the world, but unless you have boundaries in place, you really will just still keep ending up drained. Because balance suggests that everything should be equal, and that if we just try harder, we can somehow perfectly split it all between work, kids, relationship, housework, self-care, and it's just not realistic. So instead of chasing balance, try this shift. Where can I implement boundaries to free up space in my life? So have a little think about that. Maybe even just pause it for a moment while you think about it. Maybe it's setting a hard limit on how much you do for others. Maybe it's saying no to things that don't align with your priorities. Maybe it's asking for help instead of assuming that you have to do it all. It's not about being selfish. It's about being realistic about what you can actually handle. I, for one, used to have the tendency to write the longest to-do list of all time, like 20 things on my to-do list in one day, and it would include so many things. It would be like enough to get you through a week. And then I'd be so hard on myself at the end of the day if I only got 2 or 3 of the things done on that list. And I used to always look at it in a real negative mindset. I used to think, oh God, but I didn't get through half of the things on the list. But really, it's because I was just writing too much on there, expecting too much of myself, just trying to overachieve and leave myself feeling exhausted when I really couldn't get through most of it. So yeah, very unrealistic. And the good girl conditioning that keeps us stuck. So if you struggle with saying no and setting boundaries and putting yourself first, there is a good reason for that. Most women, especially mums, have been conditioned from childhood to be good. So if you think back to when you were little, how often did you hear things like, be a good girl and share, say yes and don't be rude, help out, don't be difficult, and come on, be nice, give Uncle Barry a big hug. I'm just laughing at that last one because it's so ridiculous. But, things like that were just always encouraged. We were always encouraged to just be good, don't argue back about it, get on with it, and everyone will love you and you'll be fully accepted. And of course, being kind and helpful isn't a bad thing, but when our worth becomes tied to how much we give, we grow up believing that saying no, setting limits, or prioritising ourselves is somehow wrong. This is why so many mums struggle with boundaries. And it's not just about learning a new skill, it's about undoing years of subconscious programming. And this is something I work on deeply with my hypno-coaching clients, because rewiring it at a subconscious level is where the real lasting change happens. Learning to say no, even when it feels uncomfortable, can be really tricky. The transition from being a lifelong people pleaser to someone who confidently sets boundaries can feel really hard. It goes against everything we've been conditioned to do. So if saying no feels uncomfortable, good, that means you're growing. Because the thing is, discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something new, and that feels alien to you. But I promise you this, once you get used to using boundaries, even in small ways, it will feel so liberating. So what simple shifts can you start with today? Instead of automatically saying yes, pause and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? So for example, maybe you're part of the PTA, or maybe you are part of a WhatsApp family group chat. And maybe you've been the go-to person that gets on with things and organises things, and you say yes to things, and in your mind you're like, oh yeah, that'll probably only take 5 minutes to sort out, and it ends up taking a full day, and then you just feel resentment towards everyone. This is where you need to stop. This is where you need to think, actually, I know that this is going to take ages because this happened last time. So if you just pause and say to yourself, do I actually want to do this? If it's a no, you know it's going to be a no. Instead of over-explaining your no, try and say, that doesn't work for me. Full stop. That's it. That doesn't work for me. Also, no is a full sentence. You can just say no. But obviously, we're used to being polite people who are pleasing everyone. So just saying, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to have to pass this time, thank you. That'll be enough for people to just be like, oh, okay, cool. And the third shift is, instead of feeling guilty, remind yourself that saying no to others means saying yes to myself. So the more space that you can create in your life is going to come from saying no to other things. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting your time, energy, and well-being, and you deserve it. You do not have to be a martyr to be loved. Let's talk about martyrdom. So this is something I really want you to take in. You do not have to be a martyr to be loved. Repeat after me if you need to. Seriously, let that just sink in. So many mums fall into the trap of believing that in order to be a good mum, wife, or daughter, or friend, that they have to sacrifice everything. But what if you could just rewire this belief? What if you could openly tell your family, I'm making a change. I can't do everything anymore. I need more support. I mean, if you have a family WhatsApp group, or maybe an NCT WhatsApp group, or a PTA, like something where you're part of a group and you feel like things are always falling on you, you could literally just put it out there to that group and just empower yourself. Just say, hey guys, as much as I've loved being the go-to person that organises everything in this group, I need to make some shifts in my life for my own well-being. I'm going to make a change and I can't do these things anymore. and I'm going to have to start stepping back from organising things, or, whatever it is that you're kind of tending to do for everyone. And it might be that it's your family of origin, where you're the person that organises family events, and maybe you've got a big family, maybe, there's various situations where you're just keeping everything running. And yeah, you can say something like, another example would be, since having kids, I don't have the time or headspace to manage this anymore. I'd love it if someone else could take over. And you might find that there's someone else within that group that would be more than happy to do it, who hasn't really had the opportunity to be the organiser, like maybe a sibling that doesn't have kids or something. And you just never know who might step up and say, oh yeah, I'll be happy to do that. It could be a real relief. And it may even feel strange at first, actually. Maybe. You never know. It might feel like, oh gosh, I'm almost handing over the baton that I have had for so long. It's been 20 years of doing this. But once you start doing it, it will feel amazing. Here's what happens when you start to do this. When you start to release and let go and put these boundaries in place. Firstly, you show your kids that mums aren't just here to serve. They have needs too. Secondly, you create space for yourself instead of constantly overgiving. And thirdly, you allow others to step up instead of assuming that you have to do it all. It's not selfish, it's self-preservation. Now, the connection between people-pleasing and burnout is huge. So let's just talk about burnout for a few minutes. People-pleasing and burnout literally go hand in hand. And when you say yes to everything, when you feel responsible for everyone's happiness, when you put your needs last every time, you are literally setting yourself up for exhaustion. And I know, because I've been there. And the scary part is burnout doesn't just happen overnight. It builds slowly. It's like drip, 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 drip over, weeks or months. And one very small overcommitment at a time can suddenly lead to one day you just wake up and realise you've got nothing left to give. You feel resentful instead of helpful. You're running on empty, but you're still saying yes to things because you just unconsciously cannot break that pattern. And if that sounds familiar to you, let this be your wake-up call. You don't have to keep running yourself into the ground to be worthy. You can start setting boundaries today. Maybe test it out today. Because I promise you, the more you do it, the lighter you will feel. I very much was in this position a few years ago, and I found it really hard. I wanted to be in control of doing all of the laundry. I wanted to be in control of hanging it up, because I found that my husband didn't hang it up the way that I liked it hung up, because he would just kind of throw it on top of the clothes horse and it would always kind of be a bit creased when it was dry, whereas I was like, I need it to be a certain way. So having that element of control can sometimes hinder the whole thing, and we often just have to let go of the control and let that other person learn how to do the thing. And this can be really hard to do if you're not used to doing it. I personally, when I was at university, I was known in my household of the other girls that I shared my house with, I was known as Monica, because I was the one that was like obsessively tidy, like really, I guess, OCD kind of tendencies of just really wanting everything to be just so, and having that element of control of like a tidy environment all the time. That alongside, perfectionism and people pleasing, and just wanting everything to be, I guess, perfect all the time, and feeling like my environment is clean. That really knocked me for six when I had a baby, because obviously you're just not in control of anything as much as you want to be. It was really hard when I had my first child. And so, yeah, I've had to do a lot of rewiring and a lot of unlearning in order to get to where I am today. And today I will, I'll leave toys out for a week on end and really don't care, if it's not important and I've got other things to be getting on with. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a slob, but I know what my priorities are these days, and I'm happy to just leave mess if there's a mess, if I've got other things to do. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And actually, I did do a post recently. There's a reel on my Instagram from last week, and it's Dr. Gabor Maté talking about how it's just a snippet from him being on the Mel Robbins podcast. And it's a snippet of that conversation. And he says 80% of autoimmune diseases happen to women. And this is because, I think this was from a research study, the women that he spoke to tended to put other people's emotional needs before their own. They were absolute people pleasers. They repressed healthy anger. So they were proper martyrs. They tended to believe that they were responsible for how other people felt. They believed that they shouldn't disappoint anyone. And so they were essentially programmed to take on everyone else's stresses alongside their own. And so over time, that causes autoimmune diseases, which is where your body attacks itself. So that is why my work is so important to me, because I don't want women, and mums especially, to literally be putting everyone else first at the detriment to their own health. Stress is bad enough, but autoimmune diseases are awful. So if there's one thing that you can take away from today's episode, just let it be this: you're allowed to take up space, you are allowed to say no, and you do not have to do it all to be loved. And if you know that this is something you need to work on, I do actually have an amazing Mother's Day offer coming up. And I know this is the day that this goes out. If you're listening to this in the future, then this won't apply. But actually, every Mother's Day I'll probably be doing offers. But as it stands at this moment in time, this goes out on Friday just before Mother's Day. And I'm offering a 40% discount off my 4-week awakening programme. And it's for 2 mums only. So for this Mother's Day weekend, from Friday till midnight Sunday, which is Mother's Day, there's a chance to work with me. And you just have to click on the link that I'm going to be sharing in all my socials and pop in the code MUM, capital letters, MUM40, and that will get you a discount. And this is a value-packed, incredibly transformative 4 weeks spent with me, 4 weeks and beyond actually, because the stuff that I share and the resources that I will hand to you and the audios of hypnosis that I will share and plenty of other things will go beyond the 4 weeks, because you will get to take with you very insightful, helpful resources, especially the hypnosis audios, because that's where you can really rewire at a subconscious level. So yes, if you'd like that chance to work with me, keep an eye on my socials and you'll be able to strip back those people-pleasing tendencies, regain your control again, and awaken your true self. So yeah, 2 mums only have this opportunity, so get in there quickly. I do have a lot of interest in this. I've already had people showing interest. So I am going to wrap up now. Thank you very much for listening. If this episode has resonated with you and you think it would help a friend, please do share and like and subscribe and all of that jazz. That really means a lot to me and helps me out. So thank you. And if you can do anything today, please remember you do not have to be a martyr to be loved. And this is your permission slip to start setting boundaries and protecting your energy, because you deserve it. All right, thank you and see you next time. Bye.